Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the review for Chapter 3. Chapter 3 on values and emotions. And so hopefully I can do the share screen. Pull that up. And there we go. And have I remembered to hit? Okay, I think we're going. I'm seeing the red light. So, Chapter 3 is about personality. When it comes to personality, the important thing to remember is that personality is the long-term way a person acts and feels. That the terms moods and emotions are the short-term way. So personality traits tend to be consistent over time. People don't radically change their personality from one day to the next or from one year to the next. The big 5 personality traits, I'm not going to cover this long, but in the big 5 personality traits, there's extroversion versus introversion. Extroverts, as I described in class, are people who get energy from other people. Introverts are people that feel like energy is going out. The term negative affectivity. Negative affectivity is looking at how a person's looks. Hold on a second, let me move this. Okay. Negative affectivity looks at how the face that you present to other people. So I describe this as some people walk around just always with a negative, critical of themselves, critical of others. They view the world negatively. They experience negative emotions, moods, feels distress, and they're critical of themselves and others. Agreeableness. Agreeableness is the how well you get along with others. So I describe this as the fact that I have a sister, my sister Miriam, who is very high on agreeableness. She gets along with literally everybody. She has a tendency to get along very well with everyone. Conscientiousness is the degree to which people have a desire to do a good job. Conscientiousness. Openness to new experience. This is how much people want to try new things, that people have lots of interests and like to be daring and take risks. I'm pretty high on openness to new experience. I like trying new things. I've been fortunate enough to visit 30 countries and jump out of an airplane and things like that. And I love trying food that I would not have tried before. That's high on openness to new experience. My brother, on the other hand, is pretty low on this. He's very happy to do the same thing, see the same people, not venture out. So we have we are very different on the openness to new experience. Internal versus external locus of control. Locus of control is where is the control in your life. If you believe you are in control of your life, you have an internal locus of control. If you believe that others are the ones controlling your life, then you have an external locus of control. Self-esteem. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. And the book makes the point that it's good to have, the book makes the point that low self-esteem can be problematic, can cause problems, because if you are around people who are always down, always sad, it can affect other people in the workplace to be around them. I made the point in class that people with too high self-esteem can also be a problem to be around because they think they're awesome at everything. The needs theory. The needs theory says everything you do to satisfy one of 3 needs. There's a need for achievement, a need for power, and a need for affiliation. The need for achievement is the conscientiousness that we talked about earlier. The need for achievement is the desire to do well at everything you do, to be good at it. The need for power, when you hear the word power, think influence. So it's not power that I'm making you do something. It's really more a need to convince somebody you want to do this. So a little bit different meaning. People sometimes think power means I'm forcing you. Power here really means I like convincing people. I like getting people to do what I want. And then the need for affiliation. Human beings, we are social creatures. We need time around each other. That's what being human is all about. And in this era of social distancing, it is, I hope you are Zooming and meeting up with family that you don't normally get to see and friends and stuff like that, because we do, as human beings, have a need to connect. So anyhow, need for affiliation. A value is simply anything that is, what is important to you is a value. Your attitude is your outlook. Do you have a positive outlook? Do you have a negative outlook? Moods and emotions, I talked about earlier, that's the short-term way you feel. And the term norm. A norm is something that is, this is the normal way of doing things. So when you see norm, just think normal. This is what is normal. And you know, we're now in an era where norms are being broken in this virus time period. What was normal about how close you could be to other people out in the mall, what was normal about not having to wear masks and things like that, norms have changed overnight for what's acceptable and what's unacceptable behavior. Value system, you know, I talk about this as I gave the theoretical question, is it more important to be fair, treat everybody fairly, or is it more important to be kind and compassionate? And you can argue, both sides have an argument that what they do is right, that being fair is more important than being compassionate. For now, I mean, I did talk about terminal instrument values, but let it go. It's not what, yeah, let it go. Job satisfaction. This is actually important. Most of these things are important, but job satisfaction is really important for companies. They need to know whether or not their employees are satisfied. And remember, satisfied does not mean happy. Satisfied means, is everything okay? So I would not say that you know, job satisfaction, I'm not happy to be teaching this class from my apartment, but it's okay. I can get by with it. I'm learning these new technologies. I hope it's going okay. But so satisfaction is different than happiness. And it's very important to companies, as I said in class, because employees that are not satisfied are going to be, employees that are satisfied are going to work harder, are going to less likely to call in sick. They're going to do things above and beyond. Because I'm satisfied with my job and I like my job, I'm doing this video even though it is not required by the university. I'm doing this because I'm just trying to find ways to reach my students. So when an employee is satisfied, he or she will do these extra things. When an employee is unsatisfied, it becomes, what's the minimum I can do? Okay, I will do that. So job satisfaction is a key factor for all companies. And when you have higher job satisfaction, that leads to higher organizational commitment. People who are satisfied will remain committed to the organization. Emphasizing class how important commitment is. Because when you're committed, you will believe in what the organization is doing. You are proud of your organization. You are more likely to go above and beyond, which, like this video example. And you're definitely less likely to be absent, and you're less likely to quit. Talked about moods and emotions, short-term, how you feel. Emotional intelligence is simply trying to measure somebody's maturity as opposed to someone's IQ, intelligent quotient. So emotional intelligence is trying to measure that some people may have lower book intelligence, book smarts, but they're very mature people. Other people can be super smart, very high in book tests and so forth, but act very immature. So emotional intelligence is trying to figure out a way to measure emotional intelligence versus intelligence in general. And I believe one of the last topics in this chapter is also a very important one, the term organizational culture. Quite simply, culture is the accepted ways of doing things. What is the accepted ways of doing class? What is the accepted ways of doing things within your family? What is the accepted ways of doing things? So the example I used was when I came to UAU, there was a rule that men back then had to wear ties. So I brought a bunch of ties. When I came to the university, I discovered that the men were not wearing ties. And so after a couple of weeks of wearing a tie, I dumped my tie out. So sometimes culture can be different than what's the actual rules or whatever. Culture is what is accepted. And then about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, the university got rid of the tie rule altogether. So I'm not breaking the rule now, not wearing a tie. Nobody has to wear ties now. Culture is ways that companies come up with culture, talking about the values of the father. I talked about why the country talks so much about why Sheikh Zayed did what he did, because that's all part of the values of the founder. I talked about the importance of ceremonies, that why every university in the world dresses you in a funny looking hat and puts you in a gown and has you cross the stage and shake hands with somebody important. So all these things are things in stories and socialization. All of these things are designed to increase your organizational commitment, to make you feel more connected to whatever organization you're a part of. And that, I believe, finishes out the chapter. It sure does. So, I hope this is useful. I hope I recorded it right. And let's see how